It was just after dusk when Eleanor Hayes' car was found, parked neatly on a quiet, forgotten road just beyond the edge of town. The engine was off, the doors were locked. Inside sat her purse, her phone, and keys, everything she would need to return home. But Eleanor was nowhere to be seen. No footprints led away, no sign of a struggle, no indication of where she had gone. Only a still car, abandoned in the rain. This is the story of a woman who disappeared without warning, in a town where steady rain never seems to stop, and the smallest detour became a doorway into the unknown. Eleanor Hayes lived a life defined by routine. She was 32 years old, working quietly as a records clerk in a modest, mid-sized American town nestled between rivers and aging factories. The kind of place where steady rain was more common than sunshine. It wasn't a town people came to for excitement, but rather one where days slipped by unnoticed, soaked in drizzle and gray skies. Her apartment stood near the town's edge, a small space she called home. Every morning, Eleanor woke early, locked her door, and made the short walk to work. Her days followed a familiar rhythm: filing papers, answering calls, organizing records. She was known as dependable, punctual, the kind who left on time and rarely broke her routine. Her neighbors often remarked on her quiet presence. She rarely lingered in hallways or courtyards, preferring the solace of solitude. The faint scent of rain seemed to cling to her coat as she left each morning, vanishing into the steady drizzle that blanketed the town. She spoke with her sister nearly every day and called her mother every Sunday evening without fail. Family was a cornerstone of her life, even if distance kept them apart. No one expected the calm surface to shatter. April 11th began like any other day. Eleanor rose before dawn, the faint glow of street lamps filtering through her curtains. The rain had started the night before and continued softly, tapping against her window. She prepared for work with quiet efficiency, the ritual of coffee and toast grounding her as she prepared for the hours ahead. There was no hint of urgency, no sign that this day would be different. Her co-workers saw her arrive promptly, keys in hand, offering polite greetings as she settled into her usual spot behind the desk. The office hummed with routine, phones ringing, papers shuffling, quiet conversation. Throughout the day, Eleanor moved through her tasks methodically. She filed documents, answered inquiries, and double-checked records. Her eyes often flickered to the clock, a steady rhythm of minutes marking time. At 4:57 p.m., she sent a message to her sister. "I'm heading home. Call you later." It was a message like any other. No one knew it would be her last. Her drive home should have been uneventful. The route was familiar, past the old mill, across the bridge, through quiet residential streets. But traffic cameras captured something unexpected. Instead of following her usual path, Eleanor turned off onto a narrow service road rarely used by commuters. This road led toward a low-lying stretch of land near the river, an area known among locals for frequent flooding during heavy rains. The rain on that day had been steady since mid-afternoon, soft at first, but growing heavier as evening approached. Why Eleanor chose this detour remained a mystery. At 6:40 p.m., a passing motorist noticed the sedan parked by the roadside. The car was positioned carefully along the shoulder, as if placed rather than abandoned in haste. The engine was cold. The windows were rolled up, the doors locked. Inside, Eleanor's purse rested on the passenger seat. Her phone lay in the center console. Her keys were still in her bag. No signs of damage or forced entry. No notes or messages left behind. No indication of what happened next. Police quickly cordoned off the area. Search teams combed the surrounding fields saturated from days of rain. The ground was soft, footprints quickly washed away by the persistent drizzle. Local volunteers joined the effort, their eyes scanning trees and underbrush for any sign. But days passed with no sign of Eleanor. Her phone remained silent, her bank accounts untouched. The detour onto the service road was puzzling. No records showed meetings or appointments in that area. No messages hinted at trouble. Weeks later, investigators found something hidden near the car. A drainage grate partially covered by weeds and debris. Records revealed it was part of an aging storm control system built decades earlier to divert floodwater beneath the town. Most of the system had been sealed after repeated collapses, but this section had reopened. The tunnels stretched underground, a network designed to protect the town, but now forgotten. Specialized teams entered the tunnels, armed with lights and equipment. Inside, water trickled in small streams. Among the debris, personal belongings were found, items identified as Eleanor's. These fragile traces told a silent story, one that pointed to the force of the floodwaters pulling her beneath the surface, a sudden and tragic accident. Weeks later, as water levels fell, searchers found remains downstream. The service road was closed off permanently. Storm tunnels were repaired, finally secured. No foul play was involved. Eleanor's disappearance was explained by chance and circumstance, a moment when nature and forgotten infrastructure intersected. Her family received closure, painful but necessary. Most disappearances come with noise, calls for help, frantic searches, demands for answers. But Eleanor's was different. It was quiet, marked only by an abandoned car in the rain, a path that led away from the familiar, and a moment lost beneath cold, rushing water. Her story serves as a reminder that sometimes the most ordinary days hold the most extraordinary secrets, and that the smallest detours can lead to places no one expected.